Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jack and Mel Super Ad MMA Show. I'm Jack.
And I'm Mel.
We're going to do our best today to trudge through the absolute mayhem that ensued at UFC 229 Bad Blood. This really was a shocking incident.
What happened after the fight was shocking.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like you and I accurately predicted a couple of days ago in a YouTube video that you could absolutely find on our channel. It's not like we predicted
To the round,
maybe even the method, what the fight would look like, which was, I think I actually described it as not being dissimilar to the Michael Johnson and Khabib fight.
That's enough patting ourselves on the back.
Yeah, let's move on to the actual chaos of what happened. There's a lot of people saying that they think that Khabib's at fault. A lot of people saying they think Conor's at fault. So we're just going to do our best to state what we saw. Now, at the time when we watched it live, no one could believe. I mean, we had a group of people around us and no one could believe what was actually going on. It was all pretty crazy. However, since then, footage from multiple angles has emerged. What did you see?
I saw, to begin with, Khabib obviously jumping the cage.
Yeah.
Throwing a flying drop kick, missile drop kick at everyone's favourite jiu-jitsu head, Dillon Danis.
I wish that he'd just killed him with that.
It's a bit intense, wishing death upon this young man.
Have you seen Dillon Danis? Have you heard him speak?
Yes, unfortunately I have heard him speak.
You can see why I want him dead.
Nah, I would just like him to be Khabib humbled.
He needs to be humbled or dead. Whichever would.
Is that the official? That's not the show's official stance on this.
It's mine.
It's just yours. Launching a missile dropkick at him after being waved on. No one knows what was being said yet, but apparently Danis was talking some mad shit.
Yep.
I think if your boy just gets smashed and you're in the corner, you just, it's not a tail between the leg moments, but like
kind of is.
Yeah, you're going in there, you're going to make sure your guy's okay and you're going to get on with it and go back and deal with it. Not, come on, you want some of this?
Let's make a ruling.
That's the first bit.
Right, so the first bit, I absolutely think that Dillon Danis stepped out of line. Another thing that...
I also think Khabib reacted out of line.
He did.
So
he did.
Dual responsibility there.
Correct. One caveat to that, though. The security guards, like...
Oh, you mean the team of
60-plus-year-olds
overweight...
School blazers.
Yeah, overweight, retired, tichers.
Yeah, there isn't... I'm not going to say that, that they're responsible because they're not, but, I mean, they did a very poor job because Khabib...
I just don't... We actually talked about this as the fight was starting when they were standing in between, the line of them in between Conor and Khabib.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah, really? I get a police or a proper security firm doing it, but
people with weapons.
Yeah, well,
they had Khabib, and they saw what was going to happen.
I just think
the
second that fight was over, it might have been overkill, and it would have looked like overkill if nothing had happened. Mm-hmm. But that sort of the platform the Octagon girls walk around on the outside of the cage, that should have just had cops or security just there stopping anybody getting in or out because it's an emotional situation.
It is, and what you said there to me is correct. I hold at this stage, Khabib and that little prick Dillon Danis, they're both responsible at this stage.
There's a lot of testosterone flying around.
A lot of ego, Mr. Danis.
Oh, everybody's got an ego there.
Not like him. He looks like a Kermit the Frog who hasn't quite had all their brain cells develop. He's got that.
Jeez. An underdeveloped Kermit the Frog.
He's got that look going that.
He's like if Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy actually had a baby.
Yeah, and that baby was really spoilt growing up, entitled, and got really good at jiu-jitsu. That's the problem, is that he is actually really good at jiu-jitsu, and that's why he can get on like this.
Could be really good at MMA. Time will tell. See, just before we continue, see him and RDA talking mad shit.
Yeah, RDA would end his life.
Yeah. So at the time it looked very much like
Khabib.
well, let's say the scuffle between Khabib and Danis looked a lot worse than it was, just because of the massive bodies.
Yep.
There were some fisticuffs, there were some handbags being thrown about, there were some bitch slaps.
Yep.
But nothing serious.
No.
And I don't even think Khabib really got to Danis before security sort of stepped in and pulled him away.
No.
Nothing really happened there.
No.
All a bit of nothing.
So next, what
Just doesn't look very good.
No. What we saw at the time next, now this is at the time,
Looked like
someone judiced Conor in the cage, jumped over the ring and judiced Conor in the back of the head. That's what it looked like at the time. Yep. However, new angles have emerged, and what it actually transpires is that he clubbed to Hukov.
When Khabib first climbed over the cage and then jumped into the crowd, then it looks like Conor and Khabib's cornerman, who I forget his name, I'm not even going to try and attempt it.
Fair.
I think it's his cousin. Both scaled the cage to try and obviously climb over to get involved.
Yeah.
And while sitting on top of the cage, Conor looks like he swung at him. And then
he did, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a bit of a scuffle there. Then security pulled Conor back down into the cage, to which this absolute Tuagov, who wasn't in Khabib's corner, jumps up, scales the fence, throws 3 of the pussiest, softest punches you've ever seen.
To the back of his head.
To the back, yeah. Doesn't even drop a guy from behind after that guy's just been mauled for 4 rounds by possibly one of the best fighters ever.
Yep.
Yeah, and then security intervenes there. Now that guy, Tuagov, you may recognize the name, because this is in fact a fellow UFC fighter, scheduled to fight none other than, speaking of the greatest of all time,
Artem Lobov.
Yeah. Do you think that fight's going to happen?
I don't think that fight's going to happen, Mel, because only Conor McGregor's allowed to get on like this and get away with it in the UFC. It's a wee precedent they like to keep for our boy Conor. Nah, it is.
There is but undoubtedly favouritism there, but I think of everything Conor's done, well, that's what I say. If everything Conor's done, it's probably not as bad. But
so what actually happened, as you've just said, is basically Conor threw the first punch. Before he was struck, he had already thrown a punch.
I see this argument and I get it, but you know what? I kind of don't give a who threw the first punch, because
me neither.
Hell was breaking loose. You know, it was just a bit of a brawl.
Yeah, it was a bit of a free for all.
It was just a 1998 closing segment of Raw is War.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. We're seeing people saying, about how it's a disgrace to MMA and it's this and it's that. And I agree to an extent. I agree that this is an appalling... Like, Khabib let himself down because he ruined what should have been the best night of his life. And DC and Rockhold had to get involved and try and calm things down. But the thing that bugs me about it is this is what happens when... And we, again... Not to blow our own trumpets too much, but if you go back and look at our video about the press conference, we highlighted the danger of stepping on, talking about things like family, religion, like Conor basically, you said it best the other day at the time, you said, this is what happens when you talk to an actual hard man. And that's, to me, that's how I feel about this. I wish for MMA's sake that it hadn't happened, but I hope that Conor and his team learn a valuable lesson in this, because whilst I love the press conferences and I love the build up to fights, there is a part of it where when it's not, as you've just said, sort of WWE-esque, when it's not like a show.
I don't mind talking when it's about their fighting ability. I'm gonna do X.
Yes.
You ain't gonna do Y. You're boxing you're grappling
Yeah.
That's fine. When you start talking mad about
family, terrorists,
religion, your family's a terrorist, your family's traitors,
your cards, your rats,
you're a backwards,
Well,
these are gentlemen from a different walk of life to you and I, and certainly Conor, who is just from down the road.
Yep.
A bit. That wasn't going to end at the bell.
Never.
No, and
you can't turn that off.
No, you can't. And like the UFC and Dana White can come out and be, oh, this is disgusting. But Dana was jerking off to the idea of this of everything being said at the press conference because it just meant money.
On the bus,
No one corrected. No one. Not that he should be censored, but Conor should have better sense, and the UFC should have better sense than to use it to promote. Because I mean, they even put the show together, Bad Blood, where it's called this. Now, I love a good rivalry, and this will probably go down in history as one of the biggest rivalries ever. Because you bet your life there's going to be Khabib Conor 2.
Yeah, the same thing happens though. Not necessarily with the Brawl.
My point was that the UFC stood by and let these things be said at the press conference, let it get personal, rub their hands together at the thought of the money, and then take the moral high ground when a brawl erupts. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it.
No, you can't, and that's actually one of the things that I will applaud Conor for, is that he refused to press charges. Now, on the one hand, you kind of threw a punch first, so,
But that's what I mean. Like,
but
I don't care. Like, they were just
that's what I was going to say.
It was a bit of a school ground fight.
Well, that's exactly it. But I will say to Conor, fair due and respect for not getting the police further involved. Because
because the precedent had been set by Kobe Covington, who'll call the fuzz on you for whacking him with a boomerang.
That's absolutely true. The interesting thing is that Conor does play this. I hate when you see it in the build-ups when it's like, and he's from the Crumlin area of Dublin, and it's rough, and it's f***ing not. I mean, it's rough in the way that it's a dare I say, lower class estate area and whatever. But
it's a rough area comparatively to other parts of Ireland.
I don't want to give away,
but not comparatively to the hills and caves of Dagestan.
No, and that's what I was going to say. I don't want to give away exactly where we're located right now, but we're located in a fairly similar environment to the one that Conor was brought up in. And look, yes, there are fights that break out when you're a kid, and there's rough and tumble on the streets, but like, it is not a hard area when you, as you say, go to the mountains of Dagestan where you have to farm for a living and then go train, and and it just completely different.
And your country's at war.
But the thing is as well that's the annoying thing, is that you could almost imagine Conor saying like, our country's been at war.
Well, the whole thing is that Conor's persona was that of a man who welcomes war. And that's what they got.
That is what they got.
But the big point for me is, like, yes, it's professional. Yes, it's athletes. Yes, it's in a sanitized environment to an extent. But this is not, you don't play MMA. This isn't a game of MMA. No. It isn't a match. It isn't a set. It isn't whatever it's called in curling. This is real life to these guys, and like I said, they come from a different walk of life where it's about respect and honor, and it can be earned through battle, but you bring in the more delicate subjects, like you're going to pay for it.
Well, my thoughts on this are that to hook off, you're a piece of shit. I hope that you get handed to you in every single walk of life and everything you ever do. You're not going to fight in the UFC anymore. You absolute bag. And how do you feel about Tuhukov?
Yeah, I echo similar sentiments, and the guy's a biggest I think I've ever seen in the UFC, and he should be and never allowed into the States again, never mind into the UFC.
Yeah, I agree. It's a real shame in many ways that it's gone like this, because it does sully the sport's I don't want to say already damaged reputation, but unfortunately it has still never got completely past the cage fighting,
And I don't think it ever will, because it's not for everybody in today's society where things are softer.
Yeah, white knighting everywhere. I'm offended by what you've just said.
Yeah, but you can't put the same cultural restrictions on fighting, because this is from people from all walks of life, all corners of the earth coming together and doing things at their most primal nature. So that's why I can't be mad. I can't be mad at it. I mean, these guys, we want them to be savages, we want them to be ruthless, we want them to be aggressive. But you better turn that off when we want it.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that they can't have it both ways. What I will say is that I think that Conor bit off more than he could chew with Khabib.
Oh, when you play with fire,
you get burned, and Khabib, Khabib can hold his head high knowing that he literally made Conor look like a boy in the cage, because this is the thing. Even you and I, as well as we predicted the fight, I don't think either of us were like, oh, Khabib will just light him up on the feet. He lit him up on the feet. Conor really didn't get anything going at all. The only moments that I was genuinely a bit oof was literally the first 2 or 3 punches, where Conor came out, instant pressure, hands out, creating distance, caught him with 1 or 2 punches, and I sort of thought, oh dear, this is for me, as someone that was trying to analyze it, I was like, this is the worst thing that could happen for this fight, because it instantly made me think of the few times that Iaquinta managed to land on Khabib. And unfortunately, what did we see in the build-up? We saw every Tom, Dick and Harry being like, Michael Johnson smacked Khabib, and sure, Iaquinta, was able to land on him. And I did have a split second of worry at the very outset of the fight that maybe Conor was, all of the things we'd heard about his striking were true. But see, within 3 seconds, I was like, oh no, Khabib's fine now.
He neutralised and handled
Instantly.
him, took everything away. Conor looked outclassed. And he since tweeted about a rematch. I'm sure we'll end with this. I can't see a rematch particularly going any better for Conor. But after everything we've said, I'm sure the UFC will be crying about this disgusting act all the way to the bank when the rematch inevitably gets booked.
Yeah, the rematch will inevitably get booked. You are completely right in your assessment with that. One point I just want to add before we go is that Herb Dean, I watched Henner Gracie talking about this, and Herb Dean, first of all, Henner said that was a choke. Like, it was on the chin, but it was having a choke because of the angle of his head. So to anyone saying like that wouldn't have hurt or it wasn't in, it was. I watched him doing it to his training partner and breaking it down. But the one interesting thing I just want to highlight about this is that we are, ironically, were training gable chokes in jiu-jitsu ourselves recently, which to those who don't know is instead of the full neck around the back and hand tucked behind, it's a gable grip like this, and you're using the leverage of their back to put your elbow in and pull. To break that, it's different to reverse or to a rear naked choke where you're not fighting, you're not stripping the choking hand, you're stripping the other hand. But the way that you do that is by grabbing the thumbs and peeling. Interestingly, because Khabib wasn't going to let go, Herb Dean did it.
Oh, really?
Herb Dean stripped his gable grip and broke the choke like that. And if you actually watch it knowing that, which is what I've done a minute ago, you can see that his hand literally pops off. So Henner Gracie was applauding Herb Dean for not only applying the correct technique, but it furthers that Khabib weren't going to let go. He probably wasn't going to let go. And I was like, no, surely not. Instantly watched it again and was like, if Herb hadn't have stripped that like that.
I guess we'll never know.
It's
very diligent of Herb, considering he missed all the other files and whatnot. But
I was just surprised he showed up. I thought he was still trying to stop the CB Dollaway fight, which of course we have a video on.
Per CB.
Well, look, may the MMA gods be with you, my man, and thanks for joining us today. Peace.